late, you mean?
No, I mean, he's here. I don't know.
So we do the green room. It's like
the filter.
See, we don't do filter.
People,
I know.
Spike in here.
So
right?
it
it's
started
our
because
thing.
of Spike, but now he doesn't like when we say filter. I agree. We're the Go Birds pod.
Yeah, we're not
so
that little pod about a sport no one cares about. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
A listener suggested the green room.
Pretty good, right?
I like it. Yeah.
Okay. So
it's tweeted, by the way.
Room.
If you want
I
to
should
retweet
tweet it too.
You should feel
yes.
No,
yes.
You don't have
it's on the WIP main account. No big deal.
Oh my God.
All right.
I can't believe I go to New Orleans in 2 days. This week flew by.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it really did.
It really
I didn't
did.
even start packing yet. I have to go get my suit.
Honestly, I feel we mentioned this area. I feel like January flew by.
Yeah. You want to hear something crazy? This is a fun little fact for the green room.
And then we'll
start. So I was talking to people that work for the Eagles just about the hecticness of the week and all that. A lot of employees that work for the Eagles have already given their luggage with their suitcase, to
no way.
And guess how it gets there? On a bus. What? Like a huge bus.
Just one bus.
Well, think about it. They're probably driving down all their football equipment.
Yeah.
I feel like that's actually
it's
a safe way to do
it.
It's
just imagine packing a bag.
That's what I'm saying. You don't leave before a week. Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I got to start. I'm behind on what vibe I want, my luck.
It's important. A lot that goes in.
Well, it's busy. It's a lot going on.
We'll get it.
Yeah,
an important thing to touch on. All right.
Oh, don't worry. Trust me.
Let's roll. Yay, Brandon, love you. Okay,
right.
Here we go. Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. Elliott Shore Parks, James Seltzer, and special guest back again.
Yes.
Brandon Lee Gowton. Now, I'm not going to say that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl because you came back on this podcast, but I'm also not going to say that. A right has been wronged. We've brought you back for the end, too. This is just a beautiful time.
It just feels like we're doing everything we can to make sure.
Yeah, we're pooling, are immaculate
exactly.
right now.
Big week for BGs.
That's true. Yeah.
BLG.
I can see,
exactly.
I can see a pod title somewhere in there, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. So
the return of BGM, BLG. Tucker's looking at me because Tucker did suggest that.
I already did it.
Okay. Oh, it's no. You did the video title. The podcast title is a different thing, right?
Yeah. So BGN, BLG.
I didn't
and
notice
BG.
There was a title on here, so
Yeah. There we go.
This is the meaningless title, though, for being real. Like, what matters is the one that goes on the podcast.
Agreed.
All right, welcome in. BLG.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, man. How you feeling? So the last time we had you on was like really preseason-ish, getting excited for the team. I don't think any of us at that point expected to be sitting here at the last day of January talking about the Eagles in the Super Bowl. But where are you at with this team? How's your
actually, really quickly, before that, I need someone to give me my flowers for the training camp.
Oh, brother.
You were with me. We did training camp. I know, but
hold on. Talk about how great I am.
I know, but
we'll talk
before we get to it,
welcome back, by the way. Thank you. Yes.
Before we get to it, we did a lot of training camp pods together. Will you just tell me I was right about the training camp stats?
Oh, I didn't doubt them. And you know that.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Okay.
I didn't say you would, but
was that worth it? Was that?
Yeah, it was to me.
Pausing the flow of the pod.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get to the regular season before we.
Yeah, this is important.
I think that is kind of an interesting framing, though, in terms of like time capsule of when, especially when we've been doing the podcast together, because it was like back then, daily in training camp. I was with you when you were down in Brazil. For the Packers preview podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if they can beat the Packers.
We did the radio show together.
The radio show. The same thing. And we also did the one for the after the Commanders Thursday night game, where like that had more of a feel to like, oh, this team is definitely the best team in the NFC East. So it's been interesting to think back and reflect on some of those moments. And I guess maybe not to say at the top of the show, but I sent you guys something that I said from the first podcast that we did, the Packers preview podcast, that is certainly relevant to this game.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
You want to say it?
Well, should we do inner excellence?
Yeah. Oh, let's do inner excellence first, and then we'll get back.
Tease.
Yes.
So just
radio pro right here. Yeah. So in case you don't know, Brandon, we have been reading from Inner Excellence every day since it happened.
We pick a random page and we read it out loud.
I will say it's gone okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Little hit or miss.
I don't know if I would buy the book myself, but we've had some good moments.
Do you want to do it or do you want to react?
Oh,
Can I pick a page number?
We just do it randomly.
Oh.
Yeah, we just open it up.
You can pick a page. Can I pick a page number though?
Sure, pick a page number.
I want to do 55. Brandon Graham.
There we go. Well done by you. So the tough thing with doing this is now you're not really starting like at a place, but just pick a paragraph, read a few sentences.
Yeah, we just read a few sentences.
Yeah,
and then we react.
The tough thing about it is he's not like a beginning, but it's
yeah. You're just kind of we're really cherry picking some just random.
Well,
things.
and why he looks, let me tell the listeners.
I think I have it, but
I had
go.
forgotten the book today.
Oh yeah,
I
so
drove
Elliot
all
was
the way
late.
back to
Yeah.
my house
Wow.
just to get it.
That's
'cause-
dedication.
And I said,
Thank
Elliot,
you.
that was the right move.
Yeah,
I didn't mind that.
Well, I
were late because of
briefly was thinking we could read it off the phone because I know you're big into that, but it feels like the book.
No,
needs
this is the right move.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to keep it going. I wanted to shave my beard. I was like, wait, I can't.
What?
It's
Yeah.
just I know I'm not going to. It's staying. I'm not shaving it. I get it. It was never intended to be a playoff beard, but guess what? It ain't going anywhere. All
Do you
right.
think our beards
I'm in
count
on
as
everything.
playoff beards?
No.
I don't think so, right? Like, I think I can shave my beard. I'm not going to shave it off. Like, I think I can clean my beard up because it's not like yours too. You, I feel like, have a legit playoff beard.
I know.
Yeah. Like a hockey guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Big Flyers trade.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Joel
Yeah.
Farabee. We'll miss
We
you.
should kind of get into that before. No.
Yeah. Not Broad
Nicely
Street
done.
Bullies or whatever.
Yeah.
The
South Philly
three
sauce.
All right, here we go.
crucial characteristics to master any performance are 1, belief, 2, focus, 3, freedom. Just like the acronym Best Friends Forever,
Oh, look at this.
BFF stands for something memorable as well. The 3 vital aspects of high performance. Belief separates the best from the rest. Focus is your ability to have heightened awareness in the present moment. And freedom is your ability to be bold and take risks, holding nothing back.
So I like that one.
I have a
It's pretty
takeaway
good.
from that too.
I feel like he fudged a little on the second F.
Yeah.
Like freedom is he's really stretching.
Yeah.
Like the belief focus, like, yep, that totally. And then it's like freedom. You do whatever you want. It's like, you just wanted to get BFF in there, but good work.
I love the phrase, belief is what separates the best from the rest. I love that. If there's any phrase from me too, like someone that obviously like
yes,
can hit a home run, score it.
Yes, can
Exactly,
sometimes
yeah.
believe to a fault.
I think it's
as
so
they
true
say.
though. Like when it's like multiple people are trying to do something, the person that believes they can do it the most, I think has a legs up
that's
on
my thing with
everybody.
foot. I think that the guy who wants it more, the guy who believes it
Yeah.
more, the guy, So yeah, good job, Jim.
Any takeaways from you?
I don't know how much I believe in manifestation. Like, I don't know to the extent, but I know that if you like say I can't do that, you're right. You
I agree with
automatically
that,
can't do
100%.
that.
It becomes
So-
a self-fulfilling.
So I believe in like don't do that part of it, and
thinking positively and
at least
believing.
keep the door open. Is my
I agree
philosophy.
with you. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I don't think like just because you think something you automatically can make it happen. But I do agree with you. I think that positive thinking and putting and believing you can achieve something can help you. And the opposite obviously true as well.
I also
Same way.
think like a belief in yourself helps you get through like when you first start something. Like and it's hard to do it and you're bad
Yeah,
at
of
it.
course.
Just being
I
like,
can do
"All right."
this. I believe.
Yeah,
in myself.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's good. All
All
right,
right.
this is a good inner excellence.
A
All right,
good
we're off
one.
to a good start. All right, you teased it. Let's get to it. What did you say back when was the actual pod? Was it week 1 the pod was
It was
from?
like the Thursday before the Friday
Before
night
the
game.
okay. All right, so lay it on us.
So I don't think the Eagles can't win the Super Bowl.
Here we go.
But let me be honest. I mean, I have to be consistent with this. I've said this, like independent of what I believed about the Eagles, from the moment the Chiefs beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl last year, which I was very happy about. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot
I
of
think
us
we
here
all wanted them
wanted
to win
the
the-
Chiefs to
yes.
win. So I wasn't like bummed. I was in a good mood. I was in a good mood.
Same.
But then I saw Patrick Mahomes do his post-game interview, and for some reason, and maybe I'm making too much of that, but like that really just stuck with me.
A belief in himself.
A belief in himself where he didn't even look happy. He just won the Super Bowl.
Just
He
won
was
a
just
repeat.
like, I want to like he was just always talking about is the repeat. And it's never been done before. And I think like he cares about that stuff. Not that, other people don't, but just like I think like the Jordan element, like the 3-time thing. I just think that has been such a thing for them. And all this year. And leading up so in the offseason back then, I was like, what if this season's kind of just like a waste of time for every team but the Chiefs, just because they're so locked in, they're so dialed in. And then along the season, as it's going along, I do power rankings every week for Bleeding Green Nation, and I have the Chiefs in the top spot. And everyone in the comments is always like, oh, well, why do you have them number 1? Because like they would like barely scrape and by. Because I'm like, it doesn't matter. They're just
and
gonna
you're right,
win.
And you're right.
Yeah.
about that,
I don't
yes.
care what it looks like. So for most teams, like that's unsustainable. This is a different situation. And I've just come down onto it where, and this is the last thing I'll say.
I hope not. You're here for a little
Well, I mean,
while.
just in
Yeah,
terms of
exactly.
I've been going long.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm
No, it's
joking,
all right.
I'm joking.
It's just like I feel like you have to. Everyone, anytime someone says like that he's gonna catch up to him, he's gonna catch up to him. They're gonna no for real this time. It just feels like it's like you're Charlie Brown and Lucy's holding the football, and you're like she's definitely gonna hold it this time. They're definitely gonna lose this time. So that's That's how I felt about the Chiefs.
Do you understand that
being,
reference, Elliot?
I
or-
do, yeah,
Okay,
cartoons.
good.
being
Yeah.
inevitable, independent of who they're playing. I don't care. It hasn't been about, it's not like disbelief in the Eagles. It's just been, I just don't think they're going to lose.
Yeah, so I'm really happy you're here and saying this because I didn't want to be the one to be the first one to say this. But like, I think we have to acknowledge, and I think it's good to do, because if the Eagles beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, it like that is a monumental big time win. And I think if we spend the 2 weeks before the game being like the Eagles are the better team, like then it almost clearly not cheapens the win, but I think it a little bit diminishes what a hard task is in front of them. Like when Brandon talks about them, like the Chiefs are the better team, and that's okay to say. Like
So
they
go ahead.
okay, so but here's my
And then I'll
point.
retort.
Here's my point. You can give me so many, and you know I love stats. You can give me almost every single stat benefits the Eagles, right? Like better offense, better defense, like all types of things. I just don't think it matters. This is a team that was 11-0 one-score games. They won 17 of 18 when they tried to win. They've won 2 straight Super Bowls. So while Brandon, like, I think what you're saying is true. Like when you were putting the Chiefs number 1 all year, yeah, the Chiefs weren't the best team in the NFL this year. They weren't. Like statistically, DVOA, whatever you want to point to, they were not. But deep down, they were. And so while the Eagles could definitely win the game, and this is one of the true 50-50 toss-ups I've ever felt. Like, I do not feel like they could absolutely win it.
Yeah.
I think we need to acknowledge that, like, the Chiefs are better than the Eagles.
So I don't think that's necessarily what it is. I think that they should be favored. I agree with that. I think to
The
Brandon's
Chiefs, you're
point,
saying.
I think the Chiefs should stay at number 1 in the power rankings till they're dethroned. But I think you can still say that you think the Eagles are a more talented, better football team because they are. I think the Eagles are top to bottom. The roster is just better. And I know that Andy and Patrick lift.
Yeah, they
the
matter
Chiefs up,
more than the 53rd
and that's
guy.
why I
Right.
think it's really close. Like I'm not going in like in 2022. I was like, we're winning. It's over.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that this year,
Mhm.
but I do think the Eagles will win. I'm not going in as confident as I was last time because I just saw it 2 years ago. But I do think that you can, just because the Chiefs are on the precipice of three-peating and stuff, that doesn't mean that they're like they should be considered the top team, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are the better team in terms of the way the roster is stacked and the way they've been playing. Like, honestly, this Eagles team has been freaking dominant. And then on top of that, one other thing, if we want to go with Super Bowl history and all that, the number 1 defense in the history of the Super Bowl is 10-2.
This is a good stat.
10-2.
Yeah.
The number 1 defense is 10-2. It's like 6-0 or 7-0 when it plays the number 1 offense. Like, defense wins.
Yeah.
And this defense is so much better than the defense we saw in 22. So much better. It's so much better than that Niners defense in the Super Bowl last year. Like, the Chiefs have not faced a defense like this during this run. This is the best defense they'll face. So, like, I get your point, and your overall point I agree with. Like, the Chiefs should be favored. I'm not arguing that. Like, they're the favorite. They're the champ. They deserve it. But I don't think you just say, like, well, that means they're better. Like, I think it's a different thing. I think they've earned a status, but that doesn't mean that they're a better football team than this tough physical Eagles.
So I don't think it's like David versus Goliath, to be clear.
Well, obviously.
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
You just said it was a 50.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
but also when we talk about the better team, right? I think the Eagles 1 through 53 have a better roster. I think if you did
it's almost inarguable.
Well, hold on. But if you did a draft, I think more Eagles would be drafted.
Yes.
But
yeah, Mahomes and Andy would be the
no,
first two
but I
picks.
also think the Chiefs have the best defensive lineman in the game, and Chris Jones.
I think they're the same. I think Jalen Carter and Chris
I
Jones
disagree.
are basically
I think you have to give Chris Jones an edge.
Yeah, Chris Jones is unbelievable.
He
is
is unbelievable, but
It's
so is
close. I think
Jalen
it's
Carter.
close. I think
Right,
it's
but
close.
I don't
look.
yeah.
Jalen Carter's been better in the playoffs than Chris Jones has, statistically
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah. Okay. We can
He
debate
has.
how
I mean, the
yeah.
numbers bear it
We can
out.
debate how close it is for sure, but I think Chris Jones is better. You could argue
We
George
could disagree
Karl.
on that. I think they're like more or less the same.
You could argue George Karlaftis is the best edge in the game. You could, right?
Maybe
You
he's
could
been good
argue
in the playoffs,
Trent
but-
McDuffie's the best
No, you
corner.
couldn't.
You don't think Trent
I
McDuffie's
don't
the
think
best
so.
No, I
corner?
think you
Best
could
game
argue
ever.
that.
You
But,
could
Yeah.
argue, but he is not. I don't think he's been as
well,
good
but
as
then the
Chris
Eagles
Jones.
have the next best 3 after
Yeah.
that.
Right. But this is where I guess I'm going with it. I think they have probably the best safety in Justin Reed. Like, and then they have the best quarterback, obviously, and the best head coach. So while I agree with you, like your point is correct that if you ask 32 GMs which roster they're picking, like I get your argument. There's an argument for the Eagles roster, but I still
It's
think
not just that. My argument is that the Eagles have been the better football team this year. To your point, and to the thing we just did, where it's like the Chiefs should stay at number 1, but you're the one who said you're like Chiefs haven't been the best football team this year.
they've not
because
been,
they
but-
haven't been, and I know they find ways to win, and they just win. Like just like people talk about Jalen, right? But the Eagles have been far more dominant this year as a football team.
They have
have
been.
far more dominant wins. They're statistically better in most categories.
Well, but hold on. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean,
I don't
that was the case in 2022
Right.
too. That's what I mean.
But
Like we saw,
hold
we're
up,
having the
though.
same
Hold up. Do we
conversation.
think that this team is anything like 2022? Because I don't.
I think they're better.
But I think they're significantly better. And again, I will go back to the most important part of my argument. We have the best defense in football.
Yeah.
That was far from the
Yeah.
best defense in football. Also bad coordinator, no offense, Elliott. Like the whole thing.
Right.
It was a disaster defensively in that football game. And I know the field played a role and all that. This defense is so much better. The history of football tells me, the history of the Super Bowl tells me that the team with a vastly better defense is very likely to win the football game. So I get it. I'm just saying that I do think look, we're arguing semantics like we always do here.
Yeah.
But I do think
what a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I do think it is fair to say the Eagles are a better team while still saying the Chiefs deserve to be favored.
So I'm curious where you would fall on this. If you could pick a defense to have in this game, including the coordinator, and not take into account the offense they're facing, just you get to pick a unit. Which defense are you picking? The Chiefs or the Eagles?
Yeah, it's tough, but I mean, I would pick Vic Fangio right now and
Over
Eagles
Steve
defense,
Spagnuolo?
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Okay.
I think they've earned a level of benefit of the doubt. I mean, literally, they were the best defense in the NFL this year. Like they were,
but I also
turned the ball over
they allowed
10
the fewest
times
points
in the playoffs. I
Yeah.
know a couple of those have been on special teams, but they are not just a great defense, they are aggressive and they turn the ball over and they do things to win football games.
Yeah, no, the Eagles defense is unbelievable. And
I think the Chiefs defense, the Chiefs defense in 22 was better than this Chiefs
it's
defense.
a good question.
I think.
I'm trying to think their edge rushers. They have any great edge rushers?
You can run. I know that in the playoffs, no one's ever run on Spags. I think you can run on this football team.
Well, that is one thing. So I rewatched the Super Bowl yesterday, and one thing that definitely stands out is
why would you do that?
So
horrible.
Outside of the fact that, and this is gonna be a painful listen, maybe it's an ear.
Very Jack Fritzian.
Yeah,
but you could not come closer
like
to winning a Super Bowl than they did. Like,
oh yeah, I know. It's like my line.
You know what's crazy? If Jalen doesn't fumble the ball, and I know this is like if this, and this happens, but if Jalen doesn't fumble it and they correctly give Devontae that catch at the
17 points, or
it's 31-7.
We talk about the catch all the time.
I think the catch drives me more than any play.
It's 31-7
in the game.
It's ridiculous.
They probably scored.
Like overturning that in that moment was. And look, though, we've talked about this. You and I have gone back and forth. I generally am very out on like blaming the refs for stuff. Like this Chiefs refs thing is real. Adam Schefter freaking tweeted about it, man. Like there is something there where to the point where like I don't count on getting those calls. Like the Eagles are going to have to win in spite of not getting those calls.
Sure.
So where I was going with it was like, as much as I think there's a real argument for taking the Chiefs defense, just because Spagnuolo, Chris Jones, like Trent McDuff, like they're a very, very good defense. The Eagles legitimately almost put 31 points on without a running back. Like that's what stands out watching the Super Bowl. Miles Sanders fumbles on the first play and they basically stopped playing.
He didn't play at all.
Yeah. They and then the second time he's a big part. He catches it and basically fumbles it again.
Hurts was their running game.
Yeah.
Really.
And that's the other thing. As much as the Eagles got some calls that didn't go their way, that Miles Sanders catch near fumble at the beginning of the third
should have been a fumble.
Should have
been.
So, but regardless, that is one thing where as good as I think the Chiefs defense is, and as good as I really do have a ton of respect for him. Like you add Saquon to this, and they almost put up 31 points on them without a running back.
Mm-hmm.
So like you add Saquon to that, and I think Jalen. I'll also say from rewatching, Jalen was awesome.
He was game. I've only rewatched it once, but my number one takeaway when I did rewatch it was Jalen.
He was unbelievable. I think this Jalen can do that. Like who knows? Like
he's coming off a game where he was his best game since that game.
Yeah, there's a few throws like where I don't know if he makes the AJ throw for the touchdown. Like I don't know if he attempts it now. He's been very conservative with that. But the throws he made there and the way he ran, like I think Jalen can do it again.
If I look into, I agree. I'm not worried about Jalen in a big moment.
Yeah.
If I go to like the biggest reasons why I think I could be wrong about the Chiefs' inevitability is certainly Vic Fangio.
By the way, inevitability is a very good word for what you're talking about.
That's how it feels to me. But I feel like maybe I'm underrating the defense. Like so I totally like
underrating the
I
Eagles
can't.
Defense.
Yeah, I can't
So
argue with that point.
Do you take anything from the tweet that's going around where he's like 8-0 against?
It was
because
the Dolphins.
I'm just
and
asking.
Broncos.
No, I mean
he was also a head coach for part of that.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, it's a different roster. Like the players,
they were bad teams.
They didn't have Zach Bond.
Teams were bad.
They didn't have Zach Bond.
But it's not like. But it's. I mean, I could be wrong.
Mitchell, Cooper Jean, CJ.
I get what you're saying.
I could be wrong about
this.
But it's like Fangio switches his scheme. I don't know. It seems like he runs what he runs.
Matter.
No, I agree. I'm just
also
well. I disagree with that. I think there's been some wrinkles, and the film heads
Point
are
two.
better at this than me. But
Yeah,
like I've
agreed.
seen like some of them talk about how he's done some stuff in the playoffs here that, especially in Jaden Daniels last week, that were totally unscouted, like nothing, like just totally breaks some
That's
things
good
out.
to hear.
So I think,
Vic.
but like I think he has that. So I believe in
I think
that,
he has something to prove too.
he
never
does.
won a Super Bowl. Vic Fangio has never won a Super
and
Bowl.
I think his career started in New Orleans too. Like there's some kind of like
There's some
anyway.
little synchronicity there.
And he was in the Super Bowl before with the 49ers. They lost the Ravens, obviously. So yeah, there's
he was
there.
in that
New
Super Bowl
Orleans,
in New
yeah,
Orleans.
with the
Yeah.
lights. The lights go out in
I don't know.
in New Orleans.
So
Yeah.
there's the defense, and then there's obviously Saquon. And
Right.
and it's hard to like, 'cause he's a running back. So like it's hard to like compare it to the inevitability of Patrick Mahomes. But I truly believe Saquon's like inevitable right now. He's
Yeah,
unstoppable. He just is. Like you're not
He's
going to
going
stop
break,
him.
He's going to break one
He's
or two.
going to
It's
do
gonna
it.
happen.
So I think like those are the two things I think. And also in that Saquon point, I've been really thinking about this. Like Saquon Barkley is the main character of this season. He really is.
We talked about. I
He
totally agree
really
with you.
is.
When you think about this season, Saquon will be the first name that pops.
Going back to free agency, going back to Hard Knocks,
Yes.
the jump backwards in the Jaguars game, the Week 1 performance on the like every step, the record, everything along the way, which he's going to break.
205 in the snow.
So
you know?
exactly.
Well, he's going to break the more important record.
That's what I
yeah,
mean.
exactly right.
So I just think like, am I like a sucker to like bet against that? Like, doesn't that end with him winning the Super Bowl, being the Super Bowl MVP?
Narrative wise, you're right.
Yeah.
It does.
But then, like, I agree with that.
He didn't get the regular season MVP. He got the one that
yeah,
matters.
exactly.
You know?
I agree with that. And then you look at like where the Chiefs haven't let up a 100-yard rusher in however many 18
in the
games.
playoffs.
But like, I kind of don't care about that. Like, I don't think there's a single team the Eagles can't run on. Like, you could give me any stat about the opposing defense, and I'd be like, they can probably still run the ball.
The Ravens had the top defense and run defense in the NFL.
Yeah, they ran
played
all
them,
over.
and
The
he's
first guy to get 100 against him in like 30 games or 20 something.
They played
games
that Packers defense in 2022 that was like really good. They ran all over them. Even in 2020 when they were like a trash team and they played the number 1 Saints run defense. They ran all over them.
And then again, 2021.
Yeah, they always run all over the best defenses. So I do think they'll be able to run on the Chiefs. I do. But what I keep coming back to is what Brandon kind of started with is like, so this is the most Chief stat to me. They've scored over 30 points one time all year.
Yeah, this last game.
And the one time they did it was when they needed to get over.
It was the last
you know what I mean?
Game.
So it's like
it was the last.
Exactly.
Game. It was the first time they scored over 30.
So like logically,
I put up 55.
Yeah, logically, I think that like over 31 time, like that's not that great. And then I'm like, well, if they need 38 in this game, they'll probably get it. Like it's hard for me to talk myself into Mahomes and Andy not having a good Super Bowl. Like it's just.
Sure. I don't think Mahomes is going to stink or anything like that, but I think those guys those guys had a good Super Bowl last time and the Eagles came within a hair of winning.
Yeah.
Right.
But they didn't. And that's the tough thing, like
but just because they didn't last time.
No, I agree. But the Chiefs,
in fact, you might not know this, the Eagles undefeated in Super Bowl rematches.
Yeah, I
So
love the
1-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
But it's just that's where, and again, it's a true 50-50. I'm probably gonna pick the Eagles just to pick them.
Better pick.
Yeah, of course. But like it is, I just want people to acknowledge, like it is a monumental task to beat this.
So
team. There's one football team in the world I think you could say is better than the Eagles, and this is it.
That's why I'm coming in saying, like, you remember in 2022, you wanted to pick the Chiefs. You felt like they were going to win. You felt,
and I don't feel that way.
You're much for Eagles this time.
Yeah,
but like you remember how gung ho I was. I was like, you're crazy. I was like, what are you talking about? The Eagles are better. Stop it. Like I was so sure they were going to win in 2022. I'm not going to do that again because I learned from that. But I can still look at this team, look at what they've gone through, look at the run they've had, look at the adversity that they've battled consistently throughout this season, even some of their own created by themselves. And they plow through it all. Like we did a lot going into the last Super Bowl as the 2022 team, the best team I've ever seen. I think this is the best Eagles team I've ever seen. Now, I always said they have to win, that matters. But like during that one, I went in saying I still think it's 2017. Even if they win, maybe it's like, I think this is the most top to bottom, well put together, well coached, great at executing Eagles team I've ever seen in my life. Like that has to matter for something.
It matters, but I think that's why they have a chance. You know what I mean? Like,
chance.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. But do you think the Chiefs are better now than they were in 2022?
What makes you feel that way? I'm guessing you feel that way.
Well,
so I think they were better in 2022. Not just, again, they could win this one too, but I thought that 2022 team, with the way that defense was playing at the time, with the way Bolt and those rookies were playing, and then, I think offensively it's pretty similar. I mean, it's like Xavier
I think their
Worthy might be
receivers are
better
better
than,
this time around.
but I think on the whole, I
too.
think
Yeah.
2022 is a better.
That's one thing that stood out watching too. Like their receivers in that game were bad. Like Juju Smith-Schuster,
Well, he's
Marquise
still
Valdez.
there.
Yeah, but he's like their 5th guy now.
He's
Like
their 3rd guy. I think it's him, DeAndre, and Xavier Worthy are
Yeah,
like the
but-
top 3 guys. But
yeah.
like Xavier Worthy can be scary. He's
Yeah.
he's a rookie. And I'm sorry, DeAndre Hopkins is cooked. Like
Oh, no.
he can make a
I
couple
don't know,
catches,
man.
Poking the bear.
make a couple catches and stuff like that. But like
He goes off for
I'm not
like
going into this looking like
What's
wow,
he have?
DeAndre
Like how many
Hopkins.
games he played with the Chiefs? Like 10? I think he has 5 touchdowns. Like he's I don't think he's as cooked. I agree. He certainly is not what he used
Yeah,
to be.
he's
he's
not
not
the
been
Obviously.
target
great.
monster
Yes,
anymore.
yes.
He's not been great.
Right.
I think
He
I think
can
he's
still
fine.
make a big play.
Look, he's fine. He's fine. DeAndre Hopkins has had a great career.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I don't look at it and be like, wow, they have DeAndre Hopkins.
What do you think?
I think it's similar. The receivers that came to mind, and
Yeah.
definitely
I
think
definitely
they're
think the
better
receivers
now.
are better.
Offensive line might be a little worse, depending.
It
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
is.
it's
It's not
definitely-
might
actually
be.
definitely-
If Joe Tooney playing left
Although
tackle.
you know what's crazy? Joe Tooney has been really, really good the last
but
I'm just putting it out there.
He's a guard playing tackle.
Dude, I agree with you, but like he's let up like 1 pressure
Yeah.
in 7 games.
But
Like,
and he's about to face
more
the
about
best
his
defense in the NFL.
It's more about his replacement. Like that's where they're
yeah,
they're
the
weaker
guard
at
is
left
bad,
guard
Mike
there.
Caliendo. Yeah.
Obviously,
Oh,
can
does
help
he
him
have to go up against Jalen Carter or what's going on?
So I think he's actually the other side. But
Yeah,
they can
other
move
side.
Carter.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
crazy, they
Well,
don't really
Williams.
move Carter around a ton. He plays like mostly his spot.
Yeah, well, it works.
Yeah, no,
At
I
least-
know,
and if
but
it's not working for him, it's working for Milton Williams.
but they have,
certainly.
maybe
Williams
the
and Jordan Davis and all
maybe
these
the
guys
best
are
center in the league, or at least certainly in discussion.
Yeah.
Creed
Yeah,
Humphrey,
yep.
like
Creed's great.
yeah. So
Trey Smith. That's I think that's
yeah,
a really
those two are really good.
him
together.
going up against Jalen Carter is like I'm really intrigued by that because I know it's like it's the trenches, so it's like hard to
Right.
see live, but it is like if there is a guy who might be able to block Jalen Carter 1-on-1, like it might be him.
and if you add Creed Humphrey to that, if they want to
Yeah.
double, like they
Yeah.
could mostly take Carter out of the game. Now I won't say that because he is unbelievable and
Right.
he can make plays. But the good thing that they have now is like also I forgot Jordan Davis almost got a sack in the last Super Bowl. He's
Jordan,
like
in the Super Bowl, I was like,
Yeah.
Jordan
Yeah,
Davis
yeah.
did get a sack last week.
no,
What are you
in the
talking
Super Bowl
about?
he almost has him and Mahomes throws it, and of course it's completed.
We
But
do forget that Jordan Davis, he's overweight. Like the guy was for his size, maybe the best athlete in the history
Yeah.
of the draft. Like I do think we still like have kind of forgotten that in the Jordan Davis thing, where it's like because he hasn't been a good pass rusher, but like he is a freak athlete. That guy,
Yeah.
he is playing his best football right now.
I do like the like Milton Williams, Moro Ojamo of this. Now
All
Ojamo,
of them. I think the whole rotation.
yeah, Ojamo's on the injury report with the shoulder. I think he'll probably still play and be fine. But to what you were saying, if they do try to block Jalen Carter 1-on-1 with Trey Smith, I'll be curious to see how that goes for him. But if they move Creed over that way, and then you end up getting Milton Williams, Moro Ojamo on Mike Caliendo 1-on-1, like that's a very
I
winnable
keep thinking
match.
Frank Caliendo
I know,
is
me
killing
too.
It's
Me
It's
too.
hard not to think of it.
Me
You
too.
want
So,
to do an impression?
No, yeah, right. Which one? You know,
but I'll also say, as good as the Chiefs receivers are,
Bruno can make-
I do think the Eagles corners can handle them. Like as good. I do think the Chiefs receivers are
Yeah,
better,
right.
but I also think the back four for this team is way better than it was. Now, not way better, but it's better.
It's better.
Yeah. I mean, Bradbury and Slay were like all pro guys.
They
that year,
were,
but in that game, they were
I
not.
think we all know that if you could say take those two guys or take Quinyon, Slay, and Cooper, especially you have to add Cooper. I think the
Yeah.
three of them, like
Yeah.
you would easily take these three.
Yeah. And I don't really worry about them being rookies. I mean, it's worth mentioning, but
It hasn't. I mean, how about Quinyon having his first 2 picks in the playoffs?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't. They haven't given me a reason yet in 3 massive games to think they're rookies. You know.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I just just rewatching the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it reminds you. It's like, oh crap, we lost.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the
yeah.
Chiefs are just they're really
Chiefs
hard
are-
to beat. Like
Look,
they're
again,
really hard to beat.
I think
Yep.
I agree with the premise of like I don't look at 11 one-score games as a positive. For
So
the
I
Eagles.
do.
See, no.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I look at it as a positive for the Chiefs.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of people are like, well, 11 one-score games, they don't beat teams by a lot or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? This team finds ways to win more than any team.
Right.
And now let's be honest, a few of them were ridiculous. You know, the missed field goals and stuff like that have happened. But all this team does is win games. So like I do think you and when it matters most, we have yet to see Patrick Mahomes not come through at the end of a game when it matters. So like I get it. That's why I'm giving them their due.
Right.
I just don't. I'm not going in like, well, they're unbeatable.
No, I don't think they're
Andy and the
unbeatable.
Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're hopeless.
I think it's-
I want to make
You're
that
not.
clear.
I'm
It's a
saying-
I know
credit
you
to-
know that. I just
Yeah.
want to put
It's
that
a
out there.
I think it's a credit to the Eagles that they have a chance in this game, if that makes sense. Like with the Chiefs' resume and how good they are, the Eagles have played so well this year that it's a 1-point line. Like that is that's good, right?
Impressive.
And they could certainly win the game. They absolutely could. So
They're gonna.
yeah.
I think.
I
think.
have a Sirianni question because I feel like you've been on and off with
Yeah.
Sirianni.
Yes, you could say.
Yeah. So
It's been fair.
That.
not to keep referencing the Super Bowl, but I have a lot of it on my mind.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This
Yeah.
is one of the biggest sticking
Okay,
points.
so
yeah.
so I actually think the narrative that he wasn't aggressive enough in the Super Bowl is wrong.
No.
Well, he should have gone for 4th.
Okay, but here's
We all
what
agree with that.
here's
right?
what I think people forget about that.
Okay.
It was 4th and 6, and they had
Okay.
just run 3
It
straight
was
plays.
4th and 3.
No.
4th and 3.
It's 4th.
If I'm maybe I'm talking about a different.
You're
I'm
different.
talking
It's
about
4th
different.
and 3
I'm talking
from
about the one in the red zone where he
29-yard line.
kicked.
Did they kick the
Oh
field goal
no!
instead?
We're talking about in late in the
Yeah.
game. Like
Yeah,
that's my biggest issue.
The one right before the
4th
Sipos
and
punt,
3 at the 20, their own
which is
29.
the Kadarius Toney return.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, so maybe I'm talking about the wrong.
We're talking about a
incident.
different one.
But
Okay.
Brandon, I agree with you. That decision was my biggest issue with the coach.
Because-
are you sure it was 4th and 3 late in
Yes.
the game where it's 24-21 Eagles? I mean, Tucker, would you mind looking
No,
at
no,
it?
no,
whatever
no,
the
it was when it was
Toney punt return is.
28-27 or whatever the score
Okay,
was.
so it's the next possession.
Yeah, it's the next possession.
And
Okay.
also, like, just to jump in on that real quick, just because it's not even just about like the analytics, because obviously, there's more like, should you follow? There's like debate about that. Like, forget that for a second, which I think
It's field of
should be
game,
the
right?
guiding. But yeah, that was the biggest part to me that disturbs me, because it's like your defense had just given up 2 long touchdown drives. Like, you're not stopping them. Like, have a sense of what's going on in the game right now, and your quarterback's playing awesome. Like, give him a chance. Like, trusting your defense doesn't make any sense there. Anyway.
So there was earlier in the game on a touchdown drive. He went for it twice on 4th down. I'd forgotten about that.
Okay.
And it results in a touchdown, right? So
Are these like tush pushes though?
no, what?
Okay.
I think one was
Like, I don't.
so I wrote it
that's
down. Maybe
different.
I'm just wrong here because
They
I
deserve
got.
credit for it, but
Yeah,
I agree,
but it's like,
less
it's a different
aggressive.
thing.
He went for it on 4th and 5 tie game in the second quarter,
Okay.
and then he went 4th and 2, but it wasn't. I
Right.
think they might have tush pushed. I'm not sure, but regardless, so he did go for it twice on 4th down there. I just thought when I was watching it, the go that everyone is like, you got to go, I didn't think was as obvious as I thought. Like, the offense was really struggling at that point. I know the defense was too, but the offense had like 2 or 3 drives, or I think it was 2 drives in a row where they were not good.
But yet then they got the ball back and walked down the field.
They
and
did,
scored,
for sure. They
so-
did. But like,
And they were playing well on the whole.
And also,
in
I
that
just don't
game.
think you can't.
I just think it's more about it doesn't matter whether
You-
the offense is playing good. It's you don't get the ball back.
You don't
I think
beat
that we
Mahomes
just-
by punting and kicking field
Yeah.
goals. That's just not how it works.
so, but also like the punt that people
especially with your defense. Like if
It-
you have the Eagles defense now, maybe it's a different discussion.
is the punt you're talking about after the blitz on 3rd
Not if
and
the
3
game's playing out
when
that
he's-
way. It
when
was all
they're-
about the game. But I'm saying in the first place, you consider it.
when they're very deep in their own territory.
yeah.
Yeah, like I think it'd be crazy to punt there. I mean, it'd be crazy to go there.
Oh, I
They have a
definitely
part of
think
the
they should've
pro-
gone for it.
I think
They
part
had
of
just
the-
been blitzed to oblivion. The offense was, I don't know, like they were really struggling against the blitz in that game. I think if they go for that 4th and 3, maybe they get it. But like the previous 2 plays was,
But that's fine. Then they score quick. I mean, I guess they.
I guess, well, that's the argument. They
Anyway,
score quicker.
So like
Yeah.
we've talked about this. I think the big thing, and I didn't think of it in the moment, but what Gannon did to them in that Arizona game is what they should have done. They
Yes,
should have
yeah.
onside kicked after they'd scored.
Yeah,
Let Mahomes score.
that was
quickly.
also part of the issue.
Yeah,
Exactly, the
yeah.
time. But here's how I feel. Okay, so when like I said, Mahomes, you can't beat him by field goals, punts. Like, I just don't think you can mostly. Obviously, if it's like 4th and 38, yeah, then you got
Yeah.
But I think the mentality, and I've been consistent with this. I said this back when the Chiefs played the Bills, and the Bills scored that touchdown late in the game. I forget what year it was, but this is like the 17 seconds or whatever
13
thing.
second game. Yeah,
13 seconds.
Dude, I rewatched a clip of that a few days ago.
it's
That's
unbelievable.
I was
brutal
like,
loss.
It's the
Yeah,
craziest game of all
I was
time.
crushing them like in like real time and being like, why you have to go for 2 there? 'Cause if
Totally.
they go for 2, it's a 4-point game. Now they need to score a touchdown. Obviously, if you don't get it,
Right.
the risk if they get the field goal and they win. But like,
But the offense was red hot.
Like-
McDermott mismanaged that
but
game.
don't go to
6
overtime.
ways.
Like, eliminate overtime. You don't want to be in
He
overtime.
mismanaged that game 6 ways.
So,
over.
but like, I feel like that you have to treat Patrick Mahomes the way I've said it before. Is like he's like Michael Myers. Like, it's just like
I agree with you.
it's like you're cutting off, not to get too graphic, but like, chop a limb off.
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, he's still alive. Like, you have to like
I totally
really
Now,
make
part-
sure
did
he's-
at halftime. We
dead
thought
and
we
buried.
chopped the limb off.
That's
It
what
looked
I
like he wasn't
mean.
going to be able to play, and then he comes out in the second half.
you have to
and
do
that's
so.
what he does.
So why I feel encouraged, or give Nick Sirianni credit, I couldn't believe he went for it on 4th and 5 against
Right.
the Commanders.
Yeah,
As he's doing that, I'm
it was
like,
the play of the
they're
season.
gonna just draw offside or whatever. But that shows exactly why being aggressive like matters, because obviously there's a downside to it. We can acknowledge that if you don't get it,
Right.
people weren't thrilled, but you can't just think about the downside. You have to think about what could go right. And talking about belief earlier, you have to believe in yourself and believe in the players. And that was such a massive play. It was a turning
I
point in the
agree. Yeah,
game.
it was the
by the
best
time-
play of Jalen's career, arguably.
By the time Jaden Daniels gets the ball back, they're down like 12 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because of the kickoff,
Yep.
the kickoff fumble too.
massive.
But like that's what that can kind of create. That kind of aggressive decision can make this huge edge in the game, and that's been one of my biggest criticisms of Nick Sirianni is like, how does he give the team an edge? That's what I've been wanting to see. So when I saw that, there's all the credit in the world for that.
I also think it'll be fascinating because Nick lived through this, right? Like I'm big on experience, reps, all those types of things. Like Nick had this experience. You think we're talking about this? Nick has probably thought about that decision and the other decision. We know how competitive this guy is. Like he's probably spent.
He said 32 of 32 coaches punt it there.
Dude,
so
but either way, whether
I hope
it's that decision or
mind.
all the decisions or the whole thing, like he has thought about that game over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So you hope that he's learned from the experience.
So
that, I'm given a similar situation, he'll make a different decision.
I think I side with you guys. Be ultra aggressive. It's Patrick Mahomes. Go for it. Go down swinging. But I'm curious where you guys fall on like but the Eagles defense is awesome thing. So it's like, and I think they've been semi-decent at pinning people deep this year. Like maybe that's just because they've done it 3 times, so it stands out. But I feel like they've done a good job.
Been great.
So I would be aggressive, to be clear. But where are you guys with like also, if it's like again 4th and 6, like are you trusting the defense?
So I heard you kind of say something about this earlier, and I kind of wasn't sure where you're going with it. But like I think my interpretation of it was it may have been like, because some people say like trust the defense in terms of giving them field position. Like I'm like, no, trust the defense on a short field. That's the luxury of having such an amazing defense.
Yeah,
like trust in them.
Right.
Don't like.
So I
don't
guess
worry
that's
about
the
field
flip
position.
Side. Yeah, but I get that. I get that
so
argument.
that's how I.
And I would be aggressive.
So I lean towards trusting them. It's all dependent. If it's game flow, time, where we're at, and all that stuff.
And if they're playing terribly, I might feel differently.
If they're playing well, like I think that this defense has earned the benefit of the doubt that they should be trusted in big situations. They've come through over and over and over again. Here, I'll throw a hypothetical at you that will break your brain.
Dude, I love the hypotheticals for games because you could come up with a billion.
So would you rather be down 4
or up
the ball
4,
or up 4 with the ball? That's a classic hypothetical we get. And in like Mahomes, of course you want the ball, not them out. But I did stop and think about it because like this defense has been so like we have seen this defense close out games so many times this year. We just saw it against the Rams,
but also barely.
Yeah, but you know what? Yes, but they get it done. Whether it's N'Kobe in the end zone or whatever it is, like this defense has not blown it since the Falcons game or whatever. Have they let up a game-winning drive?
The Panthers went down the field. So
I really trust this defense to come through in big spots. It's the Mahomes of it all that makes it so fast.
So I'm not sure I do trust the defense in a big spot.
Oh, I do.
They're a great defense.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, because like to your point,
the
Falcons blew it. They almost blew it against the Panthers.
One is the second week of the season.
I know, but like let's not act,
Cooper DeJean wasn't even playing.
Right, but let's not act like when the game's been on the line, the defense has been like boom. Like
they've won the game.
They have, I agree, but it's been
the Rams. I don't care how close.
No, I know,
they've
but
won the game though.
Right, but now it's Mahomes.
I do think there's some credence to like 2-minute drill. We even saw at the end of the first half,
right.
The Commanders game. They have had. There's been a little bit of shakiness.
Yeah, like I don't think they've been great in situational
but they
football.
close it down.
They do, but it's
they're
close.
Great in the red zone. They are phenomenal at defending the red zone.
Relatively, they're almost like weaker there. They're like that might be their weak point, relatively speaking.
So that's what I'm saying. Like
in terms of like that's where they look a little bit more vulnerable than otherwise.
But they've gotten the job done.
But don't you? So you can't agree. Like they looked a little shaky.
Yeah,
it was shaky until they get to the red zone, and then they've shut it down.
Right. But at
the end of the day, they have come through and out.
They've gotten it done. I agree, but it has been tense. It has been tense to watch. It's not been like 3 and out.
Tense or
right, but they've gotten close. The Falcons did it. The Panthers basically did it. If that guy doesn't drop the pass. The Rams were like 13 yards away. The Jaguars' interception was in the end zone.
And they won every one of those except
they did
Falcons.
for sure. They did, but it's been close. Is all I'm saying. Like I think I would rather have. I think I'd rather have the ball.
I think at the end of the day, I would too.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I'd rather have
to.
You
have to have Mahomes off the field
because I also trust Jalen.
But my point was that I thought about it more than I ever would have with Mahomes, just because his defense has been good.
Yeah.
In those spots.
I still think like going into this game, like I know you don't want to do like offense versus defense, but like I think the defense has been awesome, but like let's be real, holding the Chiefs to under like 27 points, 30 points is going to be really hard to do. Like the offense,
every team except the Bills have done it.
No, I know, but like the Bills didn't do it last week when they needed to. Like I would be surprised if the Chiefs scored less than 27 points. I would just be surprised. So I think
you're taking the over.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over. I think the Eagles offense is going to have like an unbelievable game. Like it's more on them to me than this. Like stopping the Chiefs in the Super Bowl with Mahomes and Andy, like that's a monumental task. The Chiefs defense is very good, but I think this is on like all the skill players on the offense.
I just like we've seen Patrick Mahomes get destroyed by a defense in the Super Bowl before.
Yeah.
It has happened. Like the way he lost the Super Bowl was a defense beat the crap out of him and won the game. And like, I get your point and I agree overall with Mahomes, but I do think you are somewhat not giving enough credit to the number one defense. I'll go back to that stat I said in the Super Bowl. So the best of the best, usually, right? 10-2 when the number one defense is in the Super Bowl. Like, that's
I'd be
a
curious.
pretty strong stat.
I'd be curious to know what their points given up in that game were. If there was a large, I'd just be curious to know. Like,
well, I know one of them was the 43-8 game when it was the Seahawks as the number one defense versus the number one offense in the Broncos, and it was 43-8 for the defense. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'd just be.
That
curious
was the last time I think 1 versus 1 happened. Maybe.
No, I agree. I think the Eagles defense is unbelievable. It's just in my brain, I can't be like they're going to shut down Mahomes and Andy. I just can't.
I'm just saying, like, I think that they deserve some credit. Like, Mahomes is not infallible. Like, Mahomes has lost before. I know it's rare and it's whatever, but like we can't go into this game being like, well, Mahomes is unbeatable. You know who's unbeatable? Tom Brady coming off 28-3 against the freaking Falcons, winning 2 out of 3 years that year, like all that stuff. And yeah, he put up some numbers.
Yeah, he was
but
unbelievable.
The Eagles still won the football game. Like, I get it. I'm not gonna like go like this guy's a god and he's unbeatable. Like, he's the best quarterback of a generation. He's one of the 2 best of all time, probably. But you know what? He's lost in the Super Bowl before.
Yeah. He's a god and he's not unbeatable, but he's pretty close. I mean, that's the best way I
lost in
could
the
say
Super Bowl
it.
before. He lost the Bengals in overtime a few years ago. Like, it happens.
So I have 2 things. First of all, the Brady thing. Going into that game, the Patriots, the Super Bowl Eagles won. Like, I just felt they were going to win. I felt that way.
We all did. That was the most confident I've been.
It didn't even. It was like kind of like
just crazy.
Even when they were down a point, 4th down, the whole.
That was the only time I started to like wonder.
I didn't. Even when they were down a point, I was like, "We're winning the Super Bowl." Like, I had no doubts, and
that was the one time.
But I had no doubts.
I believe it. That was the one time like doubt like started to creep in just a little bit. But anyway, I just felt like it wasn't about the Patriots. That was my whole thing. Like, I don't care who they're playing. They're just going to win. Look at them.
The underdogs,
so that's kind of how I feel about the Chiefs this year. So I just kind of have a different feeling of it.
Now that's based on your whole season long.
Going back to that point. But anyway, that's not the main point I wanted to make. The bigger point is, and now this sounds, it's going to be like sounding like in direct contrast with what I just said there.
What I do all the time.
It's
a sign of a smart thing.
But I think it does make some sense, hopefully, is that I think I trust the Eagles to like win in a blowout more than I do to win in close, because I think I
actually agree with this.
This sounds like very dumb and basic, but yeah, it's like
they just pull away and suffocate.
Pulverize them. Yeah, and
that's where the defense, like we've used the term suffocating for it. Like, it is a suffocating defense when they have a lead late in games. Between the running game and that defense, you really can just like suck the life out of it.
I think there's like, if you were to put a pie chart or whatever, like a 20% chance they blow the Chiefs out. And then like 75% chance it's a really close game, and then like a 5% chance I would be stunned if the Chiefs blow them out.
They haven't blown anyone out.
But
I think was their biggest win of the season, the Texans.
And I just think the Eagles are going to show up. Like, but to your point, like I agree. I kind of think the way to win this game, and this sounds simple, just win by a lot, right? But I think if it's close in the 4th, like you got to give the Chiefs the edge there. It doesn't mean they'll do it, right? But I agree. Like, the way to get this Chiefs team, because to James' point too, the Super Bowl they lost, they got smoked in. Like, it just boom, right?
Yeah,
it was
pass rush was just dominating Mahomes.
And I do think the Eagles are capable of doing this,
I agree.
for what it's worth. But like, it's just, if it gets close and the Chiefs show up, and that's where it gets like, oh man, like, and also to wrap this up, because I know we want to get to final thoughts.
Yeah, we'll get to final.
I will say too, like, it would just, they deserve a Super Bowl so bad. Like, it sucks so bad to think how good they were in 22, how good they are now. In both those years, they run into the Chiefs. I know in the Super Bowl, you don't run into a bad team, but there have been fluky teams that get there where it's like, okay, you know, and
of course,
the Eagles,
like those Stafford Rams, like that was a fine
the Eagles
team,
never get that luck.
Team, you know?
They never get that luck. Like, they couldn't in 17, it was an unbelievable Patriots team.
04, it was an unbelievable Patriots team.
These two are like unbelievable Chiefs teams. Like, man, you couldn't just gift this one a little bit, like, and look, it just sucks.
The flip side of that is it makes it more fun when you win, as we know.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
But it's a great point. It's a great point. Oh, this is, I love you, buddy. It's so fun having you here.
Pal.
This has been a great.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah. Do you got anything else you want to get out before we go to final thoughts? Just any last Eagles thoughts for the Go Birds listeners?
No, let's do final thoughts.
Love it.
All right. I got one that I love so much. I'm so excited about it.
It makes me so happy.
I was laughing about this so hard last night. Okay. So, dude, the person that invented stuffing is a wild guy. Like, imagine the first time you baked.
Oh, I like where this is going.
You baked all this bread,
pull
which
that out of
which was hard to make. It's not like bread was like you're just picking it up at a store. Like you
Uh-huh.
spent time, and this dude's sitting there, and he's like, "Yo, let's put it in the bird." The uncooked bird.
Let's throw in the bird.
Let's
See what
take all
happens,
this
man.
and let's just find out.
Throw
Like
it
what
in
a
there.
I'd be like, I would look at this dude like, what are you
Wasting
talking
the
You're
about?
bread.
you're gonna shove your hand up there? Is that what you're talking
This
about?
thing's
right
not
now?
even cooked, and you want to take
Amazing.
all this bread and you want to put it in the bird. Like I could see around the bird, but like inside of the guts, like that's a wild suggestion to do.
Great
Like
final thought.
you want to talk about taking a chance in life. Like what do you think the people around him reacted like?
This
Like
is great work. by you.
yeah, thank you. I was.
Really, really good work.
It's
I'm very
crazy
proud
because
of
I was
you.
watching something last night. It was The Big Chill. I think there might have been stuffing in that.
Yeah,
scene.
by the way, great movie, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't love it. But it was
The music was great.
the music was great.
I
and
was worried. It was an old school.
it is a
one.
very chill,
Yeah,
calming movie.
for
I
comedy.
just feel like nobody said anything. It was like the quietest movie I've ever seen. Like people like barely talking that thing. But who knows?
I don't know about
So anyway, they were making stuffing, and the bird looked especially uncooked, and I was thinking it's pretty wild we put stuffing in a bird.
That's a good point.
It seems like unhealthy, and I'm not into it. I love stuffing now that we do it, but it's a
Oh,
wild.
stuffing should be eaten year round.
It's a wild
honestly, That's the
suggestion.
craziest thing about stuffing is that we just eat it once a year. Like, why?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You want to
Okay.
go second?
You go.
You want me to go second?
I'll go final.
So let me find one that let me look at all my ones here. So I have a special one for Brandon coming up in a sec.
Oh yeah. You
Let me
did-
go
you
with
did tease that.
Yeah.
one of mine. Okay, here we go. Too many. Okay, here we go. All
Well,
right.
when you do 30 straight days, it's hard to come up with.
I respect it.
Yeah.
I respect.
I know it's
You don't
a
always
lot.
get a
The
banger
grind.
like the stuffing one. I'm
Okay,
happy I had a
I'll
good one.
this is not like the best one ever, but
Oh, well, don't. No, now people are not excited.
okay,
for
fine. Then I'll give one that really gets me fired up.
There we
If you want
go.
to get, I get really angry about.
I don't know if you know this, but
Uh-oh.
he gets fired up.
Yes.
Oh,
Alright.
I've never seen it
This
before.
is
but I've
for
heard
Yeah.
of it.
all the delivery drivers for one particular company in Philadelphia,
This seems like an
and you
incident
might
you lived through.
recognize them. It's
Let's
always
not-
the
let's
same
not-
color
let's not-
van.
yeah,
It's
let's
a-
not.
yeah, okay, and they're
Right.
everywhere.
Right.
It's not, you know.
I think we get who you're talking
Okay.
about. Yeah.
Like, why do you always have to stop in the middle of the freaking road? Like, there'll be like spots
Oh, no.
lined up.
Jesus.
Always.
You got 'em
You
going.
can
I
like,
know.
literally
Look at this.
pull
Yeah,
in,
this is-
and they'll just stop in the middle of the road
Yeah.
and make you. I think it's a company policy. I think they're like, stop in the middle of the road and just get out and do it. Like, it is the most obnoxious, rude, no care for anyone's time. They'll get out and they'll like go like slowly down the street and they'll be like, all right, I'm doing 2 here, and then let me run over this one. And there are spots on the side of the road that they could pull in, and I'm sitting behind you for 10 minutes on a street because you're an a-hole. Thank you.
Tough day to be a delivery driver listening to the Go Birds
It's
pod.
outrageous.
Yeah.
Pull into a freaking spot, pull over. You'll see a lot of delivery drivers. They'll find us. They'll back into something, whatever they got to do so
Right.
that they're not blocking traffic again, like an a-hole,
Right.
just to do it.
If you've never met James Seltzer,
Oh yeah. This is
In person.
Yeah.
this is not an act. This
No.
is just.
No, this is exactly.
I'm
I feel
surprised you
so
didn't.
strongly
I'm
about it.
surprised you didn't drop the we live in a society.
We live. It's true.
Yeah,
we do.
'cause
We
that
live in
is-
society.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
Other
And this
people's
very
time.
much applies to it. Yeah.
All right, so I'll do the last one after. Go ahead. The last
Valid.
one.
Keeping it simple. I mean, check out 2 things. Number 1, check out bleedingreenation.com.
Obviously.
got
Look
the,
at it. It's
that
well
logo
done.
on the hat
Seriously
there.
though, check it out. It's amazing.
Appreciate that, buddy.
Elliot, back in the day,
That's right.
Yeah.
BGN
alum,
alumna. I mean,
as
so are
they
you.
say.
As
Yeah,
you used
technically
to
you're right. I used
write
to-
for BGN.
That fantasy article was pretty awesome.
I loved seeing those every
Yeah.
single week.
I wrote an article for BGN saying Penn State's football team should be taken away
I
forever.
do remember that.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "This is an Eagles website." I'm like, "Good point."
Thank you. I will
Fair.
not.
It was
Chime in
topical,
on that
but it
again,
was
yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Shout out to former Eagles Penn State legend Brett Brackett. Went to high school with him. He used
Oh,
to be,
wow,
he was on
what
the
a
team whenever
throwback.
out in the
Yeah.
area. So there's a really deep cut there.
Speaking
the
of training
sickos.
camp, yeah.
Second thing, a little plug, not a sponsor, just a little plug. You know, I like to give plugs to local Philly,
Sure.
like Woodrow's, the best,
Yeah,
my
the
favorite
best.
cheesesteak in Philly.
Phenomenal.
I'm not affiliated or anything, but I gave this to you, and you've liked it since
Oh,
then.
is
So I'm
this
gonna little shout out
the-
to Row Home Coffee over here,
Very
not too
good.
far away, right by Fittler Square area. So a lot of people probably visiting Philly just for the Super Bowl, just be around if they win, be on
Like
Broad
that.
Street.
We don't have any food sponsors, so we're good.
So
Do your thing.
if you
Hold
want,
on.
if you want a breakfast
Where
sandwich,
is this at?
It's right at like
like
24.
26 and
Is this the
Pine or
one that
something.
does the pretzel?
Pretzel
sandwiches.
breakfast
They're
sandwich,
so
yeah.
good, right?
Pretzel breakfast sandwich. So if you're in
You
Philly,
don't like them.
you're
Elliot doesn't
visiting?
like. I think it's
Oh,
phenomenal.
terrible.
I think it's a bad take by Elliot.
well, they
I
have good
think-
coffee and stuff too.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if you
no.
like that,
It's a
check it
very
out.
cool
Yeah.
place, and it breaks my heart that I don't love the pretzel breakfast
Wow.
sandwich because it just feels like something I would love. I just think it's too much pretzel. Just me. Like I think
Not
it's a really
possible.
cool spot.
Yeah.
It's by the dog park, and we take Kingsley. Like I love going
Great
there.
spot.
I'm just not a fan of the pretzel sandwich.
Fair enough.
Just me. It's a bit much for me. It's a lot.
Okay. Disagree, but nice shout out.
Yep.
And then let's end by little inside baseball. Brandon in my household is known as Uncle Brandon
Very nice.
because he is Zoe's uncle by
True.
blood.
Sure.
And he has told me before that his favorite part of the Go Birds pod is when I do a Zoe final thought.
Yes.
So I figured I would seed it this time, and I hope this comes through well.
Oh,
This
no.
is from
Nice to talk to you. I'm excited to meet again, pal.
How cute is it? And then
She's
hold on. We got an end coming, right?
Love you.
Oh,
There it
that's
is.
sweet. I love you too, Zoe.
So
Make
I
sure you
figured
play that.
we would have
very
her
sweet.
chime in.
And
for
Emily
Uncle
and
Brandon.
Rube.
Good use of the word pal.
Right? I when
Quality
I was
drop.
dying laughing. I like almost dropped the phone when she's
She-
like, "Hope we meet again soon,
Pal.
pal." I was like, "Where did that come from?"
She's a treasure.
She's hilarious.
I feel like we need you to make a pick. You're not gonna be back on the pod.
Okay, yeah. It's not going to be my final pick, right?
That's
No,
fine.
I respect it. I
like,
respect
of
it.
course.
because,
Yeah,
we got a whole nother week
which
to
kind of
go.
gives you a little freedom.
So,
yeah.
here.
Basically, you're gonna pick the Chiefs and then pick the Eagles the day before
No.
the game. is
It's
what's-
it's a lean. It's more of a lean.
Yeah,
than a pick
exactly.
At this
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
officially, but I have to take the Chiefs. I'm going to
Okay.
take the Chiefs in a really close game. I'm
Alright.
not going to do score. I'll save that.
I will take the
Really
Eagles.
close game.
Yeah,
I'll pick again next week, but I'm picking the Eagles.
I'll pick next week.
This was awesome. All right. Thank you to Brandon. Super fun. Thank you to Tucker as always. Thank you to everyone who tuned in live. We can't appreciate more. Tomorrow, 1 to 3 radio show from Parks and Elliott's. And get on big jet airliner.
Gotta pack.
Carry him
Exactly.
too far away.
Whatever song that is. Yeah.
You've never heard that song, Jefferson Airplane? Really?
Jefferson
Tuck- at
Airport.
least
It's
Tucker
called.
just
Have
gave-
you
No,
heard this song?
Jefferson Airplane.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
airplane. I
The,
don't
the
know.
look
Maybe
Tucker
I'm
just gave you.
maybe
was
I'm missing the
phenomenal.
chorus.
Have
but-
you, isn't it in like a movie? It's like Armageddon. They sing it. Isn't that
Yeah, I
the
do
one they-
love. Well, that's Armageddon's got the best song.
the song that they sing before they get on the
Yeah.
shuttle? You know what I'm talking about? The song that they're all singing to each other.
I don't remember it, to be
I
honest.
thought you liked Armageddon.
I love Armageddon,
Anyway,
but I've seen it
that's
like
Jet Airline.
it's been 10
Great
years
song.
since I watched it.
All right. Well, then don't talk about loving Armageddon if you don't really love Armageddon like
We're
I
just
do.
listening to Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, we're just listening to Jefferson Airplane.
Maybe.
Know
Or
who-
Jefferson Starship.
know
I was
who
gonna
they
say,
are.
isn't
Or
that-
Starship.
Yeah.
So I did download the Big Chill album, by the way.
It's amazing. That the soundtrack.
It's almost like
well, it has the coolest part of that is when they go from the organs in the funeral at the very beginning into the Rolling
yes,
Stones
that's
song.
really cool.
That was like the most fire.
It's
part of the whole movie.
almost such a good like soundtrack that it's almost not a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like it
It's too
feels
good.
like they cheated.
Well, and also they do a lot of the diegetic where they're playing the records
Right.
in that. Okay. So it's tomorrow 1 to 3. I was about to say Sunday after the game, but not yet.
Not yet.
Sunday at 5:00. We'll keep going. Oh, by the way, day 26 today.
Oh, yeah,
Saquon
Saquon.
Day. Shout out.
Yeah.
Didn't do that at the top, but we got it. We got
We
it in.
did. We
Shout
got
out
it
to
in.
Saquon. So and then Sunday at 5:00 we'll be doing a pod and then normal next week. So thanks, buddy. This was fun. Shout out to E.
Yes.
Shout out to
good times.
everyone. We love you. Go Birds. He's Adam James and Brandon.